This would be like an American pointing to good Mexican food spots in America and saying that fajitas are an American food, or pointing to good ramen spots and saying that ramen is American food. When the prevailing narrative is that hummus is Israeli, that can piss off people that have grown up in these countries surrounding Israel and being like, Israel was just created 75 years ago. Hummus has been in my family for thousands of years, and now you're saying that it's Israeli? And your example of hummus in Israel is Syrian hummus or Lebanese hummus or Yemeni hummus. You are admitting it's not Israeli. Anyway, so when we're going to talk about Israel doing a cultural on Palestinian culture, well, I think that's kind of undeniably true. Israel has really, like, Zionist propaganda has really attacked even the concept of Palestinian people. I have to show you a video. The expulsion of Jews from Arab and Muslim countries. This is Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry. So when we're going to talk about cultural, I think it's an interesting perspective if we're going to look at Palestinians through the lens of Israeli propaganda. So let's take a look at this quick 3-minute long video by the Israel's Foreign Affairs Ministry YouTube channel.
1945. World War II is finally over. Europe is filled with tens of millions of refugees. 2 years later, Great Britain lost control of Southeast Asia. India and Pakistan win independence, and 7 million Muslim refugees exchange places with 7 million Hindi refugees. Today, not one of these people is a refugee. Not one. They have integrated into their host countries and built new lives. And then there are the Palestinians.
Right off the bat, I know we're going to talk about cultural erasure with this video, but right off the bat, I have to point out how this video frames an ethnic divide between religious groups of people as a positive thing, like a colonial power coming in, laying down an arbitrary dividing line in just an area that's shared by two people and causing massive refugee displacement is a positive thing. We're 36 seconds into the video and they've already described the divide between India and Pakistan as a good thing. This is Israeli propaganda.
In 1947, the United Nations presented a partition plan for the Jewish homeland. The Arabs gave a resounding no to that plan. They rejected a state for themselves if it meant also giving a state to the Jews. 6 Arab states attacked the fledgling Jewish state, which was small but plucky and determined to survive. In the meantime, many of the Arab inhabitants left their homes because of the war and the promise by Arab leaders that the Jews would be defeated quickly. They planned to return when they won the war and the Jews had been thrown into the sea.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk about any of the just straight up that Israeli settlers did when they first came to Palestine. We're not going to talk about that. We're just going to say that Arab inhabitants left their homes because of the war. That's how they describe the Nakba. Once again, this is cultural erasure when you describe the people that were living in Israel before Jewish people came there, before basically European settlers came there, as Arab inhabitants.
To their great surprise, they lost. Several 100,000 Arabs had become refugees. Later on,
they just happened to become refugees, and they became refugees because of their own agency. They were the Arabs that attacked Israel, and they lost, and then they became refugees. What? We lost? We're suddenly refugees now? This is not only like ahistorical and erasing history, but it's obviously like glossing over all. It's not even glossing over Israel's war crimes. It's just completely ignoring them. And then also, this is more cultural erasure.
They would be called Palestinian refugees.
And they would be called Palestinian refugees for no reason. We just, after they became refugees, that's when we stuck the label of Palestinian onto them.
On the other hand, at about the same time, 850,000 Jews were forced out of their homes all over the Middle East. They had lived in the Arab world for thousands of years, but when the Arabs were defeated and the State of Israel was established, it was too much for the Arab regimes, and they showed their Jews the door. Therefore, you could say that the Arabs and the Israelis exchanged populations, much like in Europe after World War II, and much like the Hindus and Muslims in India and Pakistan, and leave things at that. But the Arabs aren't willing to leave things at that. If they had, the Arab states would have done what Israel did a long time ago with the Jews from Arab states. Integrate the Palestinians into their society and provide them with citizenship. Wow, what a not revolutionary idea! So why weren't they given citizenship or any other rights? The Palestinians were deliberately kept as refugees so that they could be used as a weapon in the war against Israel.
Yeah, and then this is the whole idea of like Palestinian crisis actors. Oh, look at us, we're so poor, we're getting so much, guys, and this is a prevalent narrative even through today, where you look at Lonerbox, you'll look at guys like Destiny being like, oh, these guys are obviously just acting. They're getting on purpose so that they can upload those videos to social media and get more people to feel sorry for them. That's a very prevalent Zionist talking point. And then also this whole idea of, oh, why aren't the Arabs just going to other Arabs? They're just differentiating them and calling them Palestinians. It's like, okay, well, not everybody in Arab states is the same culture. These people want to live in the places where they grew up and where literally like people's houses are being occupied by Israeli settlers. So this is just cultural erasure when you are describing every Arab as the same to every other Arab, and you're going to say, well, why can't Arabs just take them in? Why can't Iran take them in? Or why can't Egypt take it in? Or Lebanon? They're Arabs. Palestinians are Arabs. The Egyptians are Arabs. Should be the exact same thing. And it's like, okay, well, Israel's also Arab, so why doesn't Israel take them in? Why doesn't Israel stop these people? Okay, let's just finish this 30 seconds.
Palestinians, who supposedly want to establish an independent state, struggle at the same time to send their refugees to live in Israel, a different state. Can Israel, a country with only 6 million Jews, allow millions of Palestinian refugees to come and take over the only Jewish homeland?
So they're like 6 million Jews. Can they allow millions of Palestinians to come in and take over their homeland? Just once again, it's like Ethan Klein is willing to talk about how Arab culture is similar to Jewish culture Palestinian culture is similar to Israeli culture because they're both Arabs, right? But then you get propaganda like this where they are very clearly differentiating Israeli culture from Palestinian culture. And not only Palestinian culture, but other Arab states. We can listen about Arab Jews giving their experience growing up in Israel and the idea that they felt discriminated against because they were Arab. And the whole prevailing mood in Israel is that European culture is superior to Arab culture, because we have to keep in mind that even with as many Arab Jews living in Israel as there are also a lot of European Jews living in Israel. And of course, the country of Israel is going to identify more with Europe and identify more with the United States than they are with the surrounding Arab nations. And that's simply because they're allies with Europe and the United States, and they're at war with these surrounding Arab nations. So why wouldn't they? Like, if you are constantly at war with your Arab neighbors, you're going to think that, like, oh, I identify more with, like, Western culture, like American culture, like UK culture. So that's pretty obvious. It's a Zionist talking point to completely erase any kind of culture or history that Palestinians have to the area. Because when you erase culture, history, and their historic ties to the land, it becomes easier to justify displacing these people. When you erase from the public consciousness the deep ties that Palestinians have to the land that, like, they lived in before Israeli settlers came, Zionist settlers came, it becomes way easier to justify it. There's simply not as much pushback. There's not as many people being like, okay, well, like, why are we removing these people? They've lived there forever. But if you can just say that these are just Arabs that happen to live there, and why aren't the other Arab states taking it in? That's a pretty easy and racist talking points that Zionists can use. And so when Ethan Klein says that it's racist for Frogan to talk about Israel erasing the culture of Palestinians and saying that hummus is actually an Israeli food, you have to think Israel's only 75 years old. And if you're saying that hummus, which is an ancient food, is Israeli, that is an ahistoricism that does erase culture from other Arab countries. And that is why Palestinians, who are an oppressed group of people, are going to get very upset when they hear that their occupier is now claiming that a food that they identify with belongs to them and has been perfected by Israeli. And we can even hear Ethan Klein say here that, oh, I think that Israeli hummus is cleaner than other Arab hummus. So let's take a look at that. We'll see here. Let's get into this.
I can't believe you said that. It's yeah, he is a token Jew. He's sitting there with a bunch of friends joking about how Jews in the Middle East are stealing hummus as a cultural heritage. Yeah, you're a token. And yes, I know this dip is also Jewish. Incredible. He picked up so many tokens, he actually became one. And by the way,
You're proud of that line, weren't you?
I didn't get any kudos for that. I thought it was funny.
It's a good joke. What can I say?
Thank you. The other one that I wasn't sure if people enjoyed, I loved it when I was talking about the pike. And I said,
Hey Moza, that's amazing. That's super brave, like going to Gaza right now. So shout out to your nurse. She's a hero.
as Hasan likes to call it, a pike for.
Yeah.
Did you guys know what the joke was?
I got what you meant.
Yeah.
I got what you meant.
Bro, how do you yell at a Twitch employee for making a Holocaust joke, something that Ethan's done countless amounts of times, and then like 2 minutes later say a K-slur joke and like ascribe it to Hasan? How does this make any sense? Once again, Ethan doesn't actually have like a moral position here. His only position is I'm going to try to attack anything potentially surrounding Hasan, because then I can try to make my stick to Hasan.
I thought that was funny.
It was a little edgy. Your absolute favorite didn't make the cut, and I am very glad about that.
Well, we can talk about the delays and stuff, because again,
Sure, yeah.
the conspiracy theorists, they were like, what were they saying? That
I don't care about
ridiculous.
Destiny.
Increase the speaking Jews that you kicked out in the 1950s. Yes, they also like hummus, and they like all the same you do, because they are you. They're from your country. You kicked them all out, and now you're accusing them of stealing your culture. You want to talk about cultural? Well, here it is. You racist piece of.
Those motherfuckers trying to take hummus and say it's Israeli is the most insane thing to me.
Hey, scumbag, here's a hummus place we used to eat at. The chef is from Yemen. Here's another dude from Syria. Does this dude look like a white colonizer to you? Would you like to tell him he's stealing your culture? Well, this is what most Israelis look like.
I also love this from Ethan, where he's like, hummus is an Israeli food. Here's the proof. A guy from Yemen made hummus. A guy from Syria made hummus. It's like, okay, so you can say Israel's a melting pot, but to say that it's a purely Israeli food is erasing culture from these other Arab states. When you have to highlight that he's a Yemeni or that he's Syrian, then you're kind of admitting that it's like, no, these other states do have like a deeper tie to hummus. And sure, you can acknowledge the idea that Israel is a melting pot, but that's not really what you're highlighting here. What these people are talking about is combating a narrative that hummus is an Israeli food. End of story. That's the narrative that they're trying to combat.
Of Israeli chefs that I knew. But if you go to a hummus place.
How did you even have? So wait, the first one was a place that you.
Yeah, it's a famous hummus spot.
Got it.
I mean, there's a ton of hummus spots. It's just like all these other the Arab countries. Like people love hummus, and they say, "Oh, no, it's not delicious." Okay, I've had Lebanese hummus. There's Lebanese Jews and people that live in Israel, and they have their like you can taste the different regional hummuses and how they are. Like I've noticed that in the Lebanese put like for my taste too much lemon juice. Like they like.
I mean, just once again, this would be like an American pointing to good Mexican food spots in America and saying that fajitas are an American food, or pointing to good ramen spots and saying that ramen is American food. Right? This is what we're talking about. Okay, and I'm not talking about pizza, where Americans took like the idea of pizza from Italy and actually changed it, and I think you can argue that the pizza in America is different enough from the pizza in Italy, and there's different associations there, and you can say now that pizza is American food. I mean, it's so obvious what we're talking about when the prevailing narrative is that hummus is Israeli. That can piss off people that have grown up in these countries surrounding Israel and being like, Israel was just created 75 years ago. Hummus has been in my family and in my country, like represented by my country for thousands of years. And now you're saying that it's Israeli? Go f*** yourself. And your example of hummus in Israel is Syrian hummus or Lebanese hummus or Yemeni hummus. You are admitting it's not Israeli. Israel's a younger country than the United States. And the United States barely has any food that it can call its own. What do we have, like burgers and Diet Coke? Once again, like this whole hummus gate is just completely ridiculous. But Ethan thinks that he really has something here. And it couldn't be further from the truth, man. It could not be further from the truth.
Get more sour.
Oh, I like it that way.
So I don't like that.
I usually add some.
Yeah, I like having the option to add, but they dump it like pre-dump it, you know? And I like the Israeli way where they make it, it's just like a perfect middle, nice, clean. But anyway, yeah, this is what the people in hummus look like. It's not like
the people in hummus look like. This is what the people in hummus look like. Also, what the do you mean? I like it the Israeli way. You've shown 2 examples of people getting hummus, and you said they were Syrian and Yemeni. And now you're saying I like the Israeli hummus. Show us the Israeli hummus, okay? Show us Israel. Is it going to be European style hummus? What is Israeli hummus, Ethan?
It's not like a bunch of Sephardic Polish people cooking.
He said he likes it. He likes Israeli hummus because it's clean and down the middle. But then he cut himself off. Anyway, that's just like a funny example. Ethan really thinks he nailed Frogan to the wall and said that the guy from the Do Not Worry podcast, Anthony, is anti-Semitic for saying that. But it's just so crazy, man.